CNN just did in-depth reporting on what is my greatest threat to pure football Super Bowl enjoyment, and that is the Puppy Bowl. Anytime it gets switched over to the Puppy Bowl during the Super Bowl, immediately the man in me is like, "Hey, what are you doing? The Super Bowl's gonna come back." What's that dog doing over there? Oh, that was cute. He tackled that dog. Those two are over there, not even near the bottom. That one's licking him. Like, I can't get enough of it. And I have to force it back to the can't get enough of it. CNN's doing an in-depth reporting. Everybody's got a puppy in their lap. There's going to be a special division for disabled puppies. Oh, my God. There's going to be a puppy combine. I want to scrap all of this right now and do an hour plus overtime on the Puppy Bowl reporting, the hard-hitting CNN Puppy Bowl reporting. Puppy Bowl 22. I'm not going to do that, though, because I'm equally as excited to get to what I'm going to get to today. And how many times has the fans of this show, you guys that have been with me from the beginning, how many times does something come out and it's a short little report and I'm saying questions here, why that? I can't wait for the reporting to come out more on this, right? And then it comes out and it starts to blossom and our minds are blown, or we're scared as hell, or we're overjoyed by a victory, whatever it may be, when the details fully come out and you and I sit here and we work through and we look at the micro and then we bring it back to the macro and we get a full picture of what we just experienced. It's the best. It's what we do this for. And a lot of that is coming to fruition today. So I'm just going to get right into it. When the Tulsi Gabbard whistleblower complaint came in, there was a lot of questions. Tons of questions. We find out about this whistleblower complaint that came in May. So sensitive that it was locked in a safe. Okay? Normally, the Inspector General of the intelligence community, the ICIG, normally it takes 2 weeks. They have 2 weeks to make a determination whether a whistleblower complaint is credible or not. This complaint's been going on since May. And just 2 days ago, it has finally made its way in front of the Gang of Eight. It has finally, the complaint, been given to the intelligence community committees. The House and Senate intelligence committees, the Gang of Eight, they're all going to take a look at this complaint. They have. Some have already. But details are starting to come out about what's in the complaint and how Tulsi herself did everything she could through the power of her office, the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, how she did everything she could to keep this from happening, but to no avail. Okay, and we're gonna take you through the timeline real quick because now we see what's going on here. And when the hearings begin and when the investigations begin and people start getting dragged in for questioning, you and I will be completely up to date on what they are talking about and how this played out. And so I'm going to give you the timeline right now. First, the complaint comes in May. A lawyer for a whistleblower within the intelligence community gives a complaint to the ICIG, the Inspector General of the intelligence community. At the time, it was a woman named Tamara Johnson. Johnson gets the complaint. She takes a look at it. Her mind is blown. At the time, she said, I'm going to look at this, but I'll tell you right now, if this was true, it is of urgent concern. Those were her moderate words to describe this explosive whistleblower report. It would be of urgent concern, well past the threshold to be given over to the Gang of Eight, if it was true. She said, shortly after she got the report, early June, she says, okay, right now I'm working through this. We're going to find out if it's credible. And the whistleblower said, okay, you do that, Tamara Johnson, but while you do that, I want to use my right under protected federal law to right now give this complaint to other committees, especially the Intelligence Committee. I want to give it to them right now. We want to go over you. It's a law. We want to follow it. We want to use it, be protected under it, and give it over. She said, okay. You can do that, but first you need counsel from the ODNI on how to properly and securely give this information over. In short, Tamara Johnson gets this explosive complaint about Tulsi Gabbard and about executive power and says, I'll take a look at it. And yeah, you're allowed to hand it over to the Intelligence Committee. But first, Tulsi Gabbard, her office has to give you counsel on how to hand it over. There's security concerns here. So we need Tulsi's office to give you advice on how to hand over a whistleblower complaint about Tulsi over to the Gang of Eight. Okay. And that is the game she played. And she played it with the help of Tamara Johnson, the former and at the time interim ICIG. Some time went on. June 9th rolls on. She says, okay, I've got an update. I got new evidence. And according to this new evidence I've received, not disclosing that evidence at all, she says she's got new evidence. And according to this new evidence, the first part of this whistleblower complaint, and it's two parts. She said the first part of this whistleblower complaint, which is specifically someone within the ODNI, someone within the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, got explosively secret information from their intelligence community and did not disseminate it or send it through any of the proper channels. And a political decision was made by the executive office, by an executive office. A political decision was made based on this information by the executive office. That's the first claim. Tamara Johnson said, not credible. Not credible. That's what she said. The second claim is that a lawyer within the ODNI, the Office of Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi's office, a lawyer within Tulsi's office also knew about the report, knew it had not been disseminated, knew that a decision had been made by an executive branch or an executive office, and did not report it to the Department of Justice. To that claim in the report, in the whistleblower report, to that claim, she said, I need more time. So she continues to kick this can down the road, but it's not just a can. It's a can packed with C4 and dynamite. She continues to kick it down the road. And while she kicks it through June, July, August, September, October, November, as she kicks it down the line, month after month after month, the whistleblower over and over and over again said, hey, the lawyer for the whistleblower is a guy named Andrew Backlash. He kept saying, Backlash continuously contacted Tulsi's office. I need your recommendations. I need to know how to send this to the Gang of Eight. I need you to respond. I need your legal counsel. They continued to stiff arm. We're not ready. It's too sensitive. We haven't decided. We don't know what to do yet. Just wait. It's supposed to be 2 weeks for the ICIG to make a complete review and send it along or not. We're talking month after month after month after month. Tulsi Gabbard stonewalled this effort. Her office refused to give the counsel needed to send this whistleblower report to Congress. Went on so long that by October, Tamara's interim position ended. Free of it. I did my part for the administration. I'm out. And in comes Christopher Fox, their Senate-confirmed new Inspector General. And now it's Chris's problem. And what he says next is the whole ball game. This is what he told. This is what he was. Let's see. I'm not sure who he said this to. This is a quote that CNN got from Christopher Fox. pardon me, in October. This is Christopher Fox, our new ICIG. He says he was told by Tulsi's general counsel that complexity in the classification of the complaint had contributed to the delay in providing the whistleblower with the necessary security guidance to send it to Congress. Here we go. He continued to push for guidance, and that when he met with Gabbard in December, she said she had been unaware of the issue. And at that time, she committed to providing the guidance as soon as it's practical. Okay. So first, Chris comes in and says, yeah, just like Tamara, just like the whistleblower's lawyer, I continued to ask the ODNI for counsel. And their lawyers kept telling me it's too complex. Their lawyers. And then Tulsi goes and tells Chris Fox, oh, there's a whistleblower complaint? I hadn't heard a thing about it. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, my lawyers had been handling that. I don't know anything about it. But now that I do, in December, I'll see to the matter personally. It'll get done. It'll get done. Well, the pressure built. The pressure built. Now Gabbard has come out and told the lie. There you go. When people get dragged in front of a hearing, when Christopher Fox gets dragged in front of a hearing, and they ask him, what did Tulsi say? What did Tulsi say? He'll tell them she said she didn't know anything about it till December. But they're going to drag other people in, like Tamara Johnson and the legal counsel we're referring to. They're all going to get asked questions. Like, what did Tulsi say? What did Tulsi know? This could get real messy for Tulsi. And now it is in the hands of the Gang of Eight. The House and the Senate Intelligence Committees have their hands on it. Okay? Backlash, by the way, came out and said just what we floated. We floated a little theory, and Scott ramped it up today, but we floated a little theory. How did this play out? Tulsi got some intelligence community report that was so damn sensitive that she didn't tell her generals, she didn't tell any of her officials inside the intelligence community, she didn't tell anybody, not the lawyers, not the DOJ, nobody. She went right to Don. And then Don made a political decision based on that information. What was it? What did she get? I said, maybe it's something about Iran. Maybe it's something about Gaza. And Scott floated today. What if it's something about the 2024 election, Brett? What if it's something about a foreign entity with proof that someone outside the U.S. has meddled successfully in our elections? And, you know, we talked about it, and there are things that have been floated since then about what happened with that election. People don't buy into this huge, disenfranchisement by the Democrats in this country to account for that few Democrats voting. Some don't buy it. Some are skeptical about what happened in Pennsylvania and other areas. They talk about Elon. They talk about how Elon was so damn sure that Trump was going to win the election in 2024. Why? Oh, man.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts. No fluff.
Okay, so this ticking time bomb has now been handed over to the Gang of Eight. Handed over to the Gang of Eight. The Gang of Eight, just to catch you up, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Speaker, Minority Leader in the House, right? Chuck Schumer, John Thune, Minority Leader in the Senate, Majority Leader in the Senate. The Intelligence Committee House ranking member and chair Rick Crawford, Jim Hines, and the Senate Intelligence Committee ranking member and chair Tom Cotton and Mark Warner. We're going to hear a bit from Mark Warner. Mark Warner is the ranking Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee. Keep that in mind. That's the Gang of Eight. They've got their hands on this whistleblower report. What's happened to that report, while it's been in their hands, that's not as much of a concern to me. And I know some of you might be thinking about that, like, oh, God, how many months have they had this? How many months has a weaponized DNI, Office of the DNI, had this report? What are they doing with it? What are they burying? I'm not worried about that, because that's the beautiful thing about a whistleblower. You'll be hearing from Andrew Backlash, the whistleblower's lawyer, quickly after if anything is misrepresented. You will hear from him immediately, and it will be handed over to more Democrats, and more things will be said, so don't worry about that. They'll get the report. They'll get it, and they're going to look over it, okay? Even Fox himself said this is serious. This is very serious, very explosive. He said it himself. Our ICIG said it's very serious. And now that some of these Intelligence Committee members have gotten a look at it, they are also sounding an alarm. They are sounding an alarm. And one of the loudest alarms that's being sounded is from Ron Wyden, Democrat out of Oregon. Ron Wyden. He's on the Intelligence Committee, but he's not the ranking member. Okay, so Ron Wyden, as soon as he got a look at the report, he sent a letter, okay? He sent a letter to CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Now, yes, that is underneath the DNI's purview, but he sends a letter with his concerns, feelings, demands about this whistleblower report, and it's signed off by all the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee. He sends it over to John Ratcliffe. He sends a letter over there. As soon as he sends a letter to Ratcliffe, he sends a following letter to us, the American people, in the form of a follow-up letter to Ratcliffe. The letter to us, since it's, believe me, it's to us. The letter to us simply says, I write to alert you to a classified letter I sent you earlier today, in which I express deep concerns about CIA activities. Thank you for your attention in this matter. This is more significant than you might think. One, they never do this. They send letters to the CIA director or the ODNI's office all the time. They never follow it up with a publicly released follow-up letter saying, hey, I sent you a letter. They don't do that. Not only do lawmakers not generally do that, Ron Wyden was picked for a reason, because Ron Wyden is highly respected, low on theatrics, low on tribalism, low on the division, high on bipartisanship, and is very judicious with his wording. So for them to pick Ron Wyden to send you and me this little update that he is seriously concerned about this report and has sent his concerns to John Ratcliffe, this is significant. Not Mark Warner, not the ranking member of the Democrats on the Intelligence Committee. They sent Ron Wyden to do this, not Mark Warner. But Mark Warner has plenty to say about this. He has plenty to say about it. A lot of people do. I'm going to get to Warner's comments in a second, actually. He said he had, Ron Wyden, among other things, he has said he has serious concerns about this, okay? He has serious concerns. Gabbard has denied all wrongdoing. So she is flat out denied any wrongdoing, denying what's in the report, if it should have to do with her. But it does. She's denied any wrongdoing and maintains the whistleblower complaint is without merit, and further claims that delay in the full disclosure to congressional leaders, however restricted, was due to extensive legal review and recent government shutdown. All right. So again, she's saying she didn't do anything wrong. She's saying my lawyers took all that time. And by the way, the shutdown delayed it even further. I wasn't trying to delay this report about me. The lies. The lies out of this woman. She lies and lies and lies. Like every prominent figure in this administration, she just lies and lies and lies about everything. But she's well served to lie about this. This is apparently really, really bad. Really bad. Mark Warner, here's what he said. It took the Gang of Eight 6 months of negotiation with the director of the National Intelligence to share that whistleblower complaint. This is in direct contradiction to what Gabbard testified during her confirmation hearings, that she would protect whistleblowers and share the information in a timely manner. Protect whistleblowers is what she promised. Don't forget, right now, that weaponization work group that Pam Bondi is in charge of, one of their key priorities is to peel back whistleblower protections. Just remember that. Just remember that. So, moderate, calm, collected, respected Ron Wyden has sent us a message. He is very concerned, and Ratcliffe knows just how concerned he is. So this gets ping-ponged back to Ratcliffe now. Along with, well, whatever hearings come from this. Okay? It is unlikely any of the Gang of Eight will disclose anything that's in that whistleblower report. That's not how this works. They don't get the report and then start talking to people about it. They just don't. We are going to have to wait for committee hearings. We're going to have to wait for the hearings and then subsequent investigations. That's how this works. That's how this works. And what did Don have to say about this? What does Don have to say about this? Because even Backlash said this involves executive office privilege in a political decision. Sounds like the White House to me. That's what the whistleblower's lawyer said. That's what we said yesterday. Sounds like Don. Smells like Don. Sounds like Don. What does Don have to say? He said very little about the story, but he published a brief item to his social media platform Tuesday. And that item he posted quoted a wacko far-right conservative outlet that said the complaint against Gabbard did not appear credible according to the Inspector General's office. That's right. That's right. Tamara Johnson not only kicked this little stick of dynamite down the road a while for Tulsi, but she did also say the portion about the president is not credible. The portion about executive office making political decisions based on the whistleblower report, or the intelligence community report, that's not credible, says Tamara Johnson. We'll see what's credible and what's not. Ms. Johnson's gone. Fox has handed it over to the Gang of Eight. One of the members of the Gang of Eight have ping-ponged it back to John Ratcliffe. Let's see what's credible and what's not. Can't wait to find out. But now you know exactly how this went down. You know exactly how Tulsi weaponized her office and stiff-armed this whistleblower complaint as long as she could for months, for more than half a year. Couldn't stop it. Couldn't stop it. This whistleblower and his lawyer were way too persistent, too public. And so we'll see what happens with those hearings and those investigations. And it will be my absolute pleasure to sit here and bring it to you. My absolute pleasure. It is fun to play What If. I will say, Scotty, it is fun to play What If with you. We start bouncing these things off each other. What the hell is in that whistleblower complaint? What is in that whistleblower complaint? One part of the complaint, somebody in the ODNI got a sensitive piece of material from the intelligence community, did not distribute it through the proper channels, and it was subject to a political decision from an executive office. what the hell was in that intelligence community report. If we start having hearings about this and people start getting dragged in and there's an investigation, an official one, we are going to find out the answers to all of this. God help us, for better or for worse.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
Okay. This, of all the stuff we've covered, Scott, of all the stuff we've covered, this story I feel like has been kind of my baby. Its scope, its depth, its global significance, and its unprecedented nature. The complexity of it, which we have distilled down to a very digestible timeline. And when we did it at first, it wasn't the whole story. The main parts had played out, but we didn't get the full scope. And with subsequent reporting, amazing reporting from the Wall Street Journal and others, the whole true scope of what I feel is the largest corruption scandal from the head of a country ever. I don't know all of the details of every scandal from the head of countries over human history, right? But I can't imagine anyone having this much monetary significance, this large a number, this large a scheme. I just can't imagine. This is certainly the largest corruption scandal in our White House's history. This is it. Corruption. Not talking about, I mean, look, you can go and do the JFK thing if you want. And that's fun, and that's fine. But this, I mean, we could also talk about Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, The Moon Landing. That's pretty corrupt. No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? No, this is it. And this has been my baby. And it is finally, due to more reporting from the Wall Street Journal and others, it has finally fully come to fruition. And it is finally gaining momentum in Congress. Finally. First, the full scheme. The spy chic scheme is what the outlets are going with. They like that term. It's mysterious and enigmatic, and the spy chic. Okay, here's the theme. And this is it, truly. And we're going to give you the timeline. This is the timeline of the largest corruption scandal out of the White House. First, it starts with a guy named Eastman. John Eastman is a lawyer, a high-powered lawyer for years in New York. He has been friends with the Witkoff family for years. Witkoff and Eastman together have both been friends with the UAE's royal family for years. So much so that Eastman is on the board of two major entities within the UAE, G42 and MGX. G42 and MGX. Eastman and Witkoff are very good friends with Sheikh Tahnoon, the spy sheik. Okay? He is the brother of their president. He's the brother of the president of the UAE. Okay? He is their national security advisor. And a handful of years ago, his brother, the president, handed him a $1.3 trillion investment fund, that state-backed UAE money that Sheikh Tahnoon, the spy sheik, is in control of. $1.3 billion. A trillion, sorry, $1.3 trillion. In control of this $1.3 trillion investment is MGX, that's one arm of Sheikh Danoon's fortune that he controls, and G42. MGX and G42. Eastman, Witkoff's longtime friend, sits on the board of G42. And in some extension, MGX as well. Sits on the board. They cook up a scheme together. Because one of the directives from the president to the spy sheik to do with this money is to advance the UAE's AI chips. So he goes about doing this. He begins doing this with President Biden. And President Biden's administration at the time was filled with anti-China hawks. And a bunch of influential people within the Biden administration said, no, no, no. Sheikh Danoon is in bed with China. They have a militaristic and commercial economic interest involvement, especially with AI development. They are in bed with their military development and commercial uses for AI. China and UAE in bed in this venture, especially military. And so Biden's administration said, nope, nope, nope. We're not going to sell you the advanced, top-of-the-line NVIDIA AI chips. We're not doing it. We'll give you some Microsoft chips, some secondary chips. Be happy with that. It's not what Sheikh was directed to get his hands on. So once he got stiff-armed, Eastman and Witkoff and Sheikh Danoon, they cook up a scheme. Centered around a Donald Trump presidency. In September of 2024, just before the election, Trump starts WLF, a brand new Trump-backed company, World Liberty Financial. It's only worth a few dozen million, not that much. It's estimated worth not 100 million. It's kind of small potatoes, small peanuts, comparatively to other Trump ventures. WLF. September 2024, WLF is formed. Eastman, who is on the board of G42 and MGX, is now named to the board of WLF. Keep that in mind. Eastman. In January, right after Trump wins the election, here's the new part of this story. For those of you who are familiar with it, here's the new part. In January, G42 gives WLF $500 million. $187 million immediately went to the Trump family. $31 million went to the Witkoffs. Witkoff and his two sons. Another $31 million went to Zach Folkman and Chase Hero. I did a little digging on these guys. Not a lot there, except they're high-powered investors, right? But their beginnings were a little dubious. One of them, Zach Folkman, this is hilarious. Zach Folkman, his fortune began, okay, he started a seminar called Date Hotter, where he would get on a stage and explain and teach men how to get hotter women faster. Oh yeah, it is literally Seduce and Destroy from Magnolia. You remember Magnolia, Tom Cruise's character? It's literally Seduce and Destroy from Magnolia. That's who this guy is. This Zach Folkman. Okay. G42 gives WLF $500 million. 250 of the million, we know where that went. 187 to Trump, 31 million to Witkoff, 31 million to Folkman and Hero. Just before Trump takes office. What does Trump do as soon as he takes office? He begins systematically firing, along with the help of his new AI czar, David Sachs. Sachs and Trump begin firing every single China hawk holdover from the Biden administration, one by one by one, they all get fired. And there's no one left to raise the red flag about selling NVIDIA chips to Sheikh Tanoon because of his China ties. There's no one left raising a stink. Path is clear, and that's just what they do. The Trump administration, David Sachs specifically, announces we will be selling hundreds of millions of dollars worth of advanced NVIDIA AI chips to Sheikh Tanoon. 2 weeks within the sale of those chips to Tanoon, Tanoon turns around with his other arm of his fortune, MGX, turns around and buys $2 billion worth of Trump's WLF's brand new stablecoin. His brand new crypto coin, WLF stablecoin. Tanoon buys $2 billion of this stablecoin. That's a $2 million deposit right into the Witkoff Trump family venture. $2 billion from Sheikh Tanoon. What does Sheikh Tanoon do with this $2 billion worth of stablecoin? He immediately turns that around and invests it into CZ, Changpeng Zhao, CZ's Binance, a global crypto exchange. What does Binance get from this? What does CZ get for facilitating this? Giving Sheikh Tanoon a place to invest his brand new stablecoin? He immediately got a pardon from President Trump because the owner of Binance, the CEO and founder, Mr. CZ Changpeng Zhao, had pled guilty to money laundering charges, $4.3 billion worth of restitution, and he spent 4 months in jail for one of the world's largest money laundering schemes ever. Trump pardons him. He now is allowed to do business back in the United States. He's allowed to take head of his company once again. And by the way, that $4.3 billion, as of right now, CZ hasn't asked for it back. See, he got a pardon. So he actually could ask for that $4.3 billion back. He could ask for it back. And he says, look, I haven't done that yet, but if I did, I'd invest it back into U.S. chips. Okay? You got it now? The largest corruption scheme out of the White House ever. Eastman and Tanoon and Witkoff cook up the plan. WLF is formed. G42 gives them $500 million personally. Trump fires everybody standing in the way of Tanoon's chip sales. Tanoon gets the most advanced AI chips on the planet to share with China. In return, Tanoon buys $2 billion worth of Trump's stablecoin, takes his stablecoin, invests it in CZ's Binance, and CZ gets a Trump pardon. Everybody got what they wanted. Tanoon got his chips. Trump got his cash. His stablecoin is now legitimate. Binance gets financing from Tanoon. CZ gets his pardon. Largest corruption scheme ever out of the White House.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things, pushing back, speaking up, and holding the line.
Okay. I think you get it. I think you get it now. There was a little aside to this story that I just couldn't shake. I'm so fascinated by this little aside, and I got in Scotty's ear about it, and I got all excited about it. There's a little a story that's kind of an amendment to this. The president of the UAE is Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. President Mohammed of the UAE. President Mohammed has a brother, Sheikh Tahnoon. We just talked about that. Years ago, the president began bestowing Sheikh Tahnoon with all of this monetary responsibility. And people started to see Sheikh Tahnoon as the natural successor to the President Mohammed. That's how the country started to see it. They started to treat him like that. It was starting to become assumed. But Mohammed has a son, Khalid. He has a son named Khalid. And just recently, the reporting just came out a week ago or so, about a week and a half ago, that the President Mohammed, he bestowed $263 billion of the $1.3 trillion that Tahnoon was in charge of. He bestowed it upon his son Khalid. He took it from Tahnoon and he gave it to Khalid. That $263 billion worth, that is the airways, their Etihad Airways and Abu Dhabi's nuclear energy company, okay, worth $263 billion. Now in charge, now their son, the son, Khalid, is now in charge of those two entities, worth $263 billion. It was Tahnoon's. Tahnoon was in charge of those before. So this script started playing out in my head, and I'm just going to share it with you real quick. I mean, it writes itself. I mean, think Syriana. Think that kind of tone. You've got this power struggle. And Sheikh Tahnoon, the uncle, starts to gain more and more power over the last few years, gets in control of the wealth fund, is in control of the airways and all these different companies, the AI development. He keeps getting all this power bestowed upon him from the president. And the son, just young at the time, starts to grow up a little bit and starts to resent his uncle. Tells his father, I'm the successor. You know, you're treating him like he's the next king. He's the next president. I'm your son. So the president did, just a little while ago, did name his son his successor. Right? He names his son his successor. But it's not good enough for the son. You've named me your successor, but Tahnoon, my uncle, is still in charge of all this. He still controls the funds, the money. He's still seen as the mover and the shaker and the power in the family. I need more. I need you to show the people that I'm next in line. So what does the president do? Pulls power away from Sheikh Tahnoon. So what does Sheikh Tahnoon do? He contacts ex-Blackwater agents and soldiers of fortune and misfit mercenaries to assassinate the son of the president, Khalid. So U.S. operatives invested in Khalid's ascension to the throne gets Chris Hemsworth, a specialized U.S. agent, to protect the president's son in President Be Damned, or Get the Uncle. I don't know what the name is, right? I don't know what the name is, but you see the movie. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. I want to see it now. This drama playing out within the UAE family. I love it. Let's see where that goes. I'll be all over it. I might not get the headlines, but I'll be all over it. And I want some kind of credit, some kind of writer's credit when it happens, because I'm on here, on camera now, writing it for you, Hollywood. Get on that. It's got to be Chris Hemsworth, apparently. That's who is envisioned in my mind as playing the special agent. It's got to be Chris Hemsworth. All right. Here's the good part about this whole story. This whole corruption. Here's the good part. Ro Khanna is finally, officially making a stink. He's on the House oversight, the House committee that oversees U.S.-China competition. That's an appropriate place for this to come from, right? Because the whole reason we weren't giving the Sheikh the chips anyway was because of his ties to China. So the House committee overseeing the U.S.-China competition has launched an investigation into the $500 million investment by G42 Sheikh Tahnoon into the Trump family WLF. Investigation officially launched. He sent a letter to Witkoff, the CEO of World Liberty Financial. He's got 16 specific questions he wants answers to. Related to requesting documents related to the company's agreement with Sheikh Tahnoon. He wants the documents. He's got 16 questions. Among those questions, he wants records detailing how company revenue and profits have been distributed. He wants to know where the other $250 million went, right? Because We know where 187 million went. We know that went to Trump, 31 million to Witkoff, 31 million to those two weirdo investors. That's 250. Where's the other 250? He wants to know. He also wants to know World Liberty's policies on conflicts of interest and any due diligence it did before conducting this transaction. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure they were real stringent when they wrote their policies on due diligence and conflict of interest at WLF. I'm sure they were all over that. Kana wants to know. He wants to know. He wrote about it. Finally, this is getting attention. Or he talked about it, rather. Finally, this is getting comments about it. People are saying things about it. I mean, this should be gigantic, but with all of the crap that's getting thrown against the wall from this administration at this time, all of it, how can you blame the mainstream media and even lawmakers for not really hammering in on this particular issue? I mean, they've got so much on their plate, but it's starting to get focused on. What did Kana say? These arrangements are not just a scandal, but may even represent a violation of multiple laws and the U.S. Constitution. Our ability to successfully outcompete the Chinese Communist Party depends on the integrity of our policy-making process. Flat out, he's calling a spade a spade. You got payment, $500 million payment, to go into the White House and affect policy that directly benefits those who made you that payment. Period. End of story. But didn't just, I mean, everybody benefited from this. CZ, the Witkoffs, Sachs, Trump, everybody, of course, especially Tanoon and the royal family, everybody benefited. Everybody benefited. The perfect little scheme. A World Liberty spokesman said these lawmakers are harassing a private American business to score political points. This is a baseless assault. No, it's not. No, it's not. And Kana also sent a separate letter to the Delaware U.S. Attorney Ben Wallace. Delaware. Why Delaware? I'll tell you why, and this is deep in the weeds, and I'm not going to spend an hour on it. Real quick. The company that invested in WLF, that $500 million, which, by the way, is a 49% stake, and two representatives of the Sheik now sit on the board of WLF. The company that officially invested is called Arium One, or Arium Investments. Arium Investments is a subsidy of G42. And they are a Delaware-based LLC, Arium One. Arium Investments is a LLC registered in Delaware. So, Ro Khanna wants the U.S. Attorney, Ben Wallace, in Delaware to do something about it. And he urged him to give it scrutiny, right? Nice way of putting it. I want an investigation into Arium One right now. It's in your state. LLC's in Delaware. Get on it. Love that action. Absolutely love that action. All right, you ready for the lies? You ready for the lies? Here come the lies. Go ahead and tell your lies in the face of the biggest corruption scandal ever out of the White House. Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear the lies. World Liberty said the World Liberty confirmed the deal and said neither Trump nor Witkoff were involved in it. Okay? He said the deal didn't grant either party access to government decision-making or influence over policy. You don't see exactly what you see. It's not there. What you're seeing, clearly laid out, it's not real. The White House said Trump and Witkoff followed government ethics rules. Okay. All right. I don't know how they could have followed government ethic rules if they weren't involved. Why would they have to follow anything if they weren't involved? And a person within Sheikh Tanoon's G42 came out and told the lie. Of course, they've got to tell the lie from their side, right? A person within G42, right underneath Sheikh Tanoon, came out and said the Sheikh and a few co-investors had backed the deal with World Liberty, but that it was never discussed with Trump. That's right. It was discussed with Eastman and Witkoff. And then they went and discussed it with Trump. They just come out and tell the lies. Democrats are talking about it. Elizabeth Warren called for Steve Witkoff, David Sachs, and Howard Lutnick to testify before Congress. I mean, they're saying the things. Okay. Republicans came out and said stuff too. All right. So Warren's asking for hearings, investigations into these guys. Adam Schiff called it corruption. What are Trump and the Republicans saying about it? Here's Trump. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, here's Trump. Yeah, here's Trump. Here's Trump. Ready? This is great.
Mr. President, the Wall Street Journal reported that the royal family of Abu Dhabi invested hundreds of millions of dollars in your World Liberty Financial. Can you explain why you decided to take that investment? Was that a transaction?
Well, I don't know about it. I know that crypto is a big thing and they like it. A lot of people like it. The people behind me like it. My sons are handling that. My family is handling it. And I guess they get investments from different people, but I'm not. I have all I can handle right now with Iran and with Russia and Ukraine and with all the things we're doing. So I don't know exactly, other than, you know, I'm a big crypto person. I'm the one that probably helped crypto more than anybody because I believe in it. And the reason I believe in it is because if we don't do it, Scott, I think we can say then China's going to do it, right? Yes, if we don't do crypto, then China's going to do it.
You just helped China do it.
We're leading AI by a lot. And if we weren't leading, China would have led. You know, they're very capable. They're very good.
Crazy. I don't know anything about it, but I know this. If we don't do crypto and AI, China will. You just helped China do it. Biden tried to stop this. You just fired anybody who could stop it. And you sold the advanced AI chips to the UAE, who shared them directly with China. You just did it, Don. You just did it. And then, like they have been, they send out Todd Blanche to start telling the lies. Let's hear Todd Blanche's, our deputy AG. Let's hear his lies.
I want to ask you about a report breaking in the Wall Street Journal overnight. I want to show the headline right now. It's the headline saying the spy sheik bought secret stake in Trump company, $500 million investment for 49% of World Liberty came months before UAE won access to tightly guarded American AI chips. It's referring to the National Security Advisor to the UAE, Sheikh Tahnoon, and he made this investment just before President Trump was inaugurated. The article goes on to say the deal marks something unprecedented in American politics, a foreign government official taking a major ownership stake in an incoming U.S. president's company. This is the company of President Trump's family. Eric Trump is the president of the company. President Trump is listed as the founder emeritus, though he's not running it directly right now. How do you respond to those who say this is a serious conflict of interest?
I love it when these papers talk about something being unprecedented or never happening before, as if the Biden family and the Biden administration didn't do exactly the same thing, and they were just in office.
But
Biden. Look, I saw that article. I don't have a comment on it beyond President Trump has been completely transparent when his family travels for business reasons. They don't do so in secret. We don't learn about it when we find a laptop a few years later.
Okay, I can't take all that. I can't take all that. Biden did it. Biden did it. No, we're asking you about the President of the United States right now and the biggest breach of ethics from the White House ever. That's what we're asking you about, Todd Blanche. He goes on.
It shouldn't be said by these so-called newspapers that are saying it.
Well, the president doesn't run the company, but he does profit from it. His financial disclosures show he's received funds from that. And law professor Kathleen Clark was quoted in the article saying this sure looks like a violation of the Foreign Emoluments Clause. Ty Cobb, who served as President Trump's lawyer during the first administration, said, quote, "My advice as an ethics lawyer would have been clear. You don't do business deals with the families of the leaders of foreign countries. It taints American foreign policy." How do you respond to Mr. Cobb?
I don't have a response to that guy. I mean, that guy hasn't said a nonpartisan thing in the past 4 years. I mean, I could have predicted what you just said he would say. That's what he says every time anything comes out about the president. I don't have the president is ethical. He talks more to the press. He says what's happening more than any president in history. You have a question about it, you can ask him. He gaggled on the plane last night at midnight for like 20 minutes, okay? So like the fact that Ty Cobb claims that he would have counseled something different to the president, okay. I mean, that guy, I mean, I don't have a response to that.
One of the
Okay, putting aside for a second his attack on Ty Cobb, of course, because that's what they do, attack. Right there, you just saw what it takes to be a top Trump administration official. What you saw him do right there. He said, and he blew right through it, straight-faced, no hesitation, blew right through, President Trump is ethical. That is the kind of lie you have to be able to tell straight-faced, off the cuff, not missing a beat. You just got to blow through a gigantic lie like that. President Trump is ethical, this, that, the other. Bing, bang, boom. That's why he has that position. He can go out and tell that lie. He's willing to go out and tell that lie. George is sitting there trying to explain to him, I'm describing to you the biggest corruption scandal out of the White House ever, and I'm telling you legal experts are saying this is terrible and poking all the constitutional holes in it. What do you have to respond to that with? Biden did it. Trump is ethical. Ty Cobb's a jerk. Great. Thanks, Todd. Thanks. That's what we're going to get out of you? Okay. It's not important what we get out of Todd Blanche. That's not important. What's important is what we hear from David Sachs, Steve Witkoff, Howard Lutnick, Eastman, when they get pulled in for hearings. It's going to be important what they say. You know what else is going to be important? The investigations that are subsequent to this. When they start digging, start finding out who talked to who about what and when. Like just before a President Trump inauguration. How much money? $187 million we know of right now to the Trump family just before he took office. $31 million to Witkoff. $31 million to investor wackos. Where'd the other $250 million go? We're coming back for overtime with a cute little story. I'll be right back.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, where the truth hits harder than the headlines.
Okay. Before we get to this charming little ICE story that I'm going to finish the show with, I do want to catch you up on President Trump's fortunes real quick. One, the New York Times did a review. Their editorial board as a whole at the New York Times did a review of Trump's gains, how much he has made since he left office in 2020. Okay? So from 2020 till right now, they have tracked exactly how much he has made. We're talking through the first year of his second presidency. They have estimated, and they know they're underestimating because of certain things that are, hidden from public view. They are estimating it's $1.4 billion that he has made since the end of his last presidency. Okay, and I'm just going to quickly run these down for you, just real quick. $23 million from licensing of his name, overseas projects, over 20 overseas projects, Trump Casino, Trump Resort, Trump this, Trump Hotel, all the Trump stuff. 20 projects overseas, $23 million. All right. He received $28 million from the Amazon documentary about Melania Trump. He's received $90.5 million in settlements from X, ABC News, Meta, YouTube, and don't forget the Paramount one, which was completely inexplicable. Paramount had a solid case. Paramount was trying to merge with Skydance, you remember? Paramount wanted to merge with Skydance, and it was up to the FCC and the Treasury to let them merge. And they weren't going to let them do it. And then all of a sudden, Paramount pays Trump $16 million, and immediately Brendan Carr and Scott Bessent greenlight the Paramount Skydance merger. Immediately. How about that? Just wanted to put that out there once again. That little bit of grift out of Brendan Carr and Bessent. Don't forget the $400 million jet from Qatar, which Trump said, I'm going to keep it when this is all over with. Maybe I'll put it in one of my libraries. That's out of Trump. That's out of Trump himself. Okay. And then $867 million from his crypto ventures. $867 million from crypto. And we know the crypto fortune over the last 5 years is lower than we think it is because Eric Trump told us. In an interview to the Financial Times, Eric Trump said, quote, "They were probably even larger than the news organizations thought," talking about his crypto profits. And don't forget about the White House renovation. Those aren't directly to Trump, right? All those tech bros donating millions to the White House renovation and all of the theories surrounding that. You can do that rabbit hole dive all you want. I'm not doing it yet. Not yet on this show, but go check it out. Some of the rabbit holes connected to that ballroom renovation. All right. So let's talk about his fortune as a whole. His fortune as a whole. When that editorial review began, he was worth $2.5 billion. Now he's worth $7.3 billion on a whole, not counting the moves he made during that presidency, but the maturation of other ventures of his that were not named there. His whole complete empire right now, as of September, $7.3 billion. Crypto and liquid assets, $2.4 billion. Trump Media and Technology Group, $2 billion. Golf resorts and golf clubs, $1.3 billion. This is the estimated value of all of this. Real estate investments, $1.2 billion. And then another $120 and other various ventures. Just so we're all clear about why President Trump wanted to become president, what he has done with his time, what it has meant to his fortune, how little he gives a crap about what you're worried about, your fears, your desires as an American, your constitutional rights, norms, our global trade, our global partnerships, defense pacts, all of it. Not the important stuff. $7.3 billion was the goal. All right, here's that cute little story I want to bring you. And I'm going to do it real quick. Not going to spend a ton of time on it because this is going to be developing as well. The Trump administration, the Washington Post got hold of a plan. Okay? It's called a draft solicitation out of DHS. Okay? A draft solicitation. It's basically a plan to buy giant warehouses across the country, renovate them, and put detainees in there. Undocumented immigrants, anybody detained by ICE, put them in these warehouses. Camps. These internment camps. That's right. It is already happening. Now, what happens now, right? What happens right now, they want to streamline the whole process. What happens right now is they get detained locally, and then they get put on buses or planes, and they get shipped across the country to whatever facility is in a position to hold them right now, whether it be Texas or somewhere else, wherever it is. They ship them as far away as they can. It costs a lot of money, a lot of time. It's pretty messy. They want to speed this up. And this is what they're calling a deliberate feeder system. That's their words. Newly arrested detainees, according to this new plan, will be detained locally for a couple weeks and then moved permanently, awaiting deportation, to one of these internment camps, one of these gigantic warehouses. The warehouses are planned to hold anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 people each. All right. Now, the draft solicitation is just that. It's a draft. It is not final. It is subject to some changes. ICE plans to share this draft with a whole bunch of giant private detention companies, and they're going to gauge the interest amongst these companies, right? And then, after they've gauged the interest, they're going to submit a formal request for bids on who wants to finalize these warehouses and renovate them for ICE, right? These private companies. Okay. Tricia McLaughlin, she said she cannot confirm anything. She's the spokeswoman for DHS. We've talked about her. She said we can't confirm anything that's in that draft. And she declined to answer any questions about warehouses in particular. okay? This is what the draft says. First, I'm going to tell you what the draft says, and then I'm going to tell you what Todd Lyons, the director of ICE, says. Ready? Because these people just can't help themselves. They always say the quiet part out loud. If they're not lying, they're betraying the quiet parts out loud. Here's what the draft says. The new facilities will maximize efficiency, minimize costs, shorten processing times, limit lengths of stay, accelerate the removal process, and promote the safety, dignity, and respect for all in ICE custody. Yeah, okay. Okay, because dignity and respect is what ICE has been focused on up till now. What does Todd Lyons at a border security, a wacko border security conference in April, what did he say? Listen to this. We need to get better at treating this like a business. The administration's goal was to deport immigrants as efficiently as Amazon moves packages, quote, like Prime, but with human beings. Like Prime, but with human beings. That is how quickly and demonstrably they are willing to dehumanize you. You are packages to be moved around and shipped efficiently and stored efficiently like a package at Prime. Out of the mouth of Todd Lyons. When you dig into the numbers, we have deported 579,000 people this year. 579,000. ICE has held in detainment 68,000 people as of the beginning of this month. 48% of those 68,000 currently detained by ICE have no criminal charges and no pending charges. They are not getting the worst of the worst. They are getting absolutely anybody they can get their hands on through administrative warrants and administrative subpoenas using cutting-edge surveillance technology because they have a 3,000 person per day quota given to them by Stephen Miller. So, the three facilities that we know 100% are a go is one south of D.C., 10,000 detainees maximum. One in Hutchins in Dallas, 9,500 maximum. And one in Hammond east of Baton Rouge in Louisiana, another 9,000. But there are many, many more in the works. The Courier News did some great reporting on this story. And they independently verified 23 detention campsites that have been surveyed by ICE. 23. Let's talk about them. Coming to a town near you. Coming to a warehouse near you. Here's where they've signed leases. Leases have been signed in Surprise, Arizona, Williamsport, Maryland, Tremont, Pennsylvania, and Hamburg, Pennsylvania, along with Clint, Texas. Those are a go. They haven't began the renovation yet, but those leases have been signed. Here is where their efforts have been stalled or blocked by the community. Oh yeah, this battle has already begun raging. In Minnesota, specifically Shakopee, Minnesota, they signed a lease. The lease of the warehouse owner, the warehouse owner right now it's unreleased who the warehouse owner is right this second. But in Shakopee, an owner of a giant warehouse there in Minnesota signed a lease with the government. This is going to be a warehouse used by ICE. Immediately, the people in Minnesota erupted in protest. Immediately. All over the city, erupted. And shortly after those protests erupted, the warehouse owner came out and announced it rejected the DHS's offer shortly after the word got out. Protests broke out. They immediately said, hey, by the way, we just rejected that offer. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. Minnesota Rep. Brad Tabke said, "It's not often these days that we get good news this fast, but that's the power of community here in Shakopee. I'm so incredibly proud of our neighbors who took up the call to such a short amount of time to let it be known that ICE is not welcome here." Okay. In Salt Lake City, Utah, it was stalled, killed. Public pressure plus some bureaucratic maneuvering, right, killed the deal between the DHS and the Ritchie Group. And then the Ritchie Group, the owners of these warehouses in Salt Lake City, came out and said something publicly. They said, "The Ritchie Group is proud to be a family-owned Utah business that has been building our community since 1973. The Ritchie Group and its investors have no plans to sell or lease the property in question to the federal government." They did have plans, and then the backlash, and they said, "We don't want this. We don't want this smoke. We're not doing it." It has been opposed in Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Michigan, Mississippi, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, and Texas. They're all opposing it. Plans in all of those states, and they're opposing it. State after state, lease after lease, the people are getting pissed off. They don't want an internment camp in their town. Okay. The internment camps themselves. What's it going to look like? Housing units, kitchens, dining areas, medical care rooms, pharmacies, bathrooms, religious service rooms, mail rooms, phone systems, law libraries, internet access, attorney meeting rooms, and indoor-outdoor recreation areas with basketball courts and exercise equipment. That's what they claim will be in all of these 23 properties. Okay. Everybody's saying that this is going to be way more expensive and way more challenging than ICE thinks it is. It's going to be costly. It's going to be challenging. And meeting federal standards for immigration detention, it will be so hard to do that because those standards were written with smaller detention camps in mind. These rules, these federal standards for immigration detention, they never had in mind 10,000 people warehouses when they wrote those standards. This is going to be a huge lift that we are going to pay for, okay? And real quick, while we're talking about large detention centers, large detention camps, and ICE's promise to be ethical and follow standards, how are they doing so far at following federal standards of ethics in the treatment of detainees? How are they doing so far? Let's take a look at one camp in particular, their largest camp, Camp East Montana in El Paso. That's the largest detention camp right now. It houses 3,800 detainees. Well, DHS's own inspectors, their own inspectors, found 60 different human rights violations in Camp East Montana. Their own inspectors. That's how they're doing with the largest camp they have right now. How do you think they'll do with an extra 4 or 5 or 6,000? 23 warehouses of an extra 4 or 5 or 6,000. The violations will be exponential. Exponential. What kind of money are we talking for these warehouses? Let's talk about Tremont, Pennsylvania. Fox 56 in Tremont obtained records that the Department of Homeland Security purchased a 1.3 million square foot warehouse in Tremont for about $120 million of your money. $120 million for just that one in Tremont. $120 million. In Hanover County, Virginia, anti-ICE protesters flooded a Board of Supervisors meeting in protest of a purchase $50 million warehouse there. Flooded the board meeting. Flooded it. Hagerstown, Maryland. Hundreds of protesters descended on a warehouse purchase there, along with Senator Chris Van Hollen from Maryland. Minnesota, Texas, New Hampshire, New York, residents packed county board meeting rooms in protest of these purchases. Millions upon millions upon millions of your dollars are going to erect internment camps. Internment camps to house detainees so they can more efficiently pack them in and move them, as Todd Lyons says, like packages at Amazon. Check near you. See what might be coming to a town near you. I encourage you. I'll be back tomorrow, Friday. Thanks, kids.